What you're about to hear is the sound of my heavy...
Welcome to Volume 1 of Audio You'll Regret Hearing. In this series, we're diving into recordings that capture moments you may wish you never heard. A frantic 911 call, an eerie sleep app recording, and an unsettling piece of art that crosses lines most wouldn't dare approach. These sounds are not easily forgotten. Listen if you're ready. Travis was no ordinary chimp. Raised from infancy by Sandra Herold in her Stamford, Connecticut home, he was like a child to her, a beloved companion who was part of the family. Travis was friendly, intelligent, and had an uncanny understanding of the human world. He dressed himself, ate at the table, used the computer, and even enjoyed watching baseball on TV. For Sandra, he was a son. She adored him completely, treating him to steak dinners and letting him sleep in her bed. To neighbors, Travis was a local celebrity, often spotted riding shotgun in Sandra's car, greeting everyone he met. But on a chilling February day in 2009, that all changed in a most horrific way. It began as a regular afternoon. Charla Nash, a friend of Sandra's, stopped by to help get Travis back inside after he'd stolen her car keys and wandered out of the house. She thought she knew Travis well enough. But as soon as she stepped out of her car, holding an Elmo doll to lure him in, Travis's demeanor shifted. Something was wrong. Maybe he was confused by her new hairstyle, or maybe the medication Sandra had given him was affecting him differently that day. Whatever it was, Travis suddenly lunged at Charla with a ferocity no one could have expected. Sandra's desperate 911 call paints a chilling picture. You can hear the fear in her voice, raw and helpless, as she begs the dispatcher to send help, her voice quivering with horror. "He's killing my friend. He ripped her apart. Shoot him. Shoot him." In the background, Travis's furious screams and Charla's anguished cries create a haunting symphony of chaos and pain. Sandra, in her desperation, tried everything to stop him. She grabbed a shovel, then a butcher's knife, stabbing her beloved chimp to protect her friend. But Travis barely seemed to notice, each strike only momentarily slowing his assault. When the police finally arrived, they found Travis covered in blood. He was in a frenzy, attacking the officers' vehicles, even managing to open a locked car door in his attempt to get to them. Officer Frank Giaffari fired his weapon, striking Travis multiple times. Wounded, Travis fled back into the house, where he collapsed and died beside his cage. A tragic, heartbreaking end for a creature that had once been so cherished. What Travis did to Charla was beyond comprehension. She survived, but was left severely disfigured, undergoing countless surgeries and a face transplant. The attack shocked the nation, sparking debates about the ethics and risks of keeping exotic animals as pets. Charla's suffering became a somber reminder of the unpredictable nature of animals, even those raised in loving homes. For Sandra, Travis was more than a chimp. He was family. But in that terrifying moment, he became something unrecognizable, a creature of pure rage, causing unspeakable harm to a woman who thought she knew him. What you're about to hear is deeply unsettling, a recording that captures the raw horror and chaos of that day. It's a 911 call made by Sandra Herold as she watched her beloved pet attack her friend. She describes each horrific detail which may leave you disturbed. Proceed with caution.
Stand for 911, where's your emergency?
Oh, this is Sandy. 231 Rock Rimmon Road.
What's the
Send
problem?
the police. Send the police.
What's the problem there?
The chimp killed my friend.
What's the problem with your friend?
Oh, please.
What's the problem with your friend? I need to know.
Send the police up with a gun. With a gun. Hurry
Who
up.
has a gun?
Please, hurry up. He's killing my girlfriend.
What is the problem?
He's killing my friend.
Who's killing your friend?
My chimpanzee.
Oh, your chimpanzee is killing your friend.
Yes. He ripped her apart. Hurry up.
With a gun.
Hurry up, please.
There's someone on the way.
With guns, please. You shoot him.
What is the monkey doing? Tell me what the monkey's...
He ripped her face off.
He ripped her face off?
Please. please.
If the monkey moves away from your friend, let me know, okay? So we could try to help your friend.
No, I can't. She's dead. She's dead.
Why are you saying that she's dead?
She's dead. He ripped her apart.
He ripped what apart? Her face?
Everything.
He ripped her apart?
Listen, I think I'm going to faint. I think I'm going to pass out.
No, just breathe, okay? I'm going to stay with you on the phone until they get there.
Listen, please hurry. Please hurry. Oh, my God.
There's something uniquely disturbing about how vulnerable we are when we're asleep. We're not aware of our surroundings, oblivious to any noise or movement nearby, and if someone or something uninvited is lurking, we wouldn't have a clue. It all started innocently enough. The Reddit user who we'll call Jenny was using an app called Sleep as Android to track her sleep. The app had a feature that recorded noises at night: snoring, sleep talking, shuffling around, anything that might disturb her rest. Jenny had been using the app for months and hadn't caught anything unusual, just the typical noises she made as she shifted in bed. But on the night of December 30th, 2013, everything changed. That night, Jenny was alone in the house with her 3-year-old son, who was scared of the dark and had climbed into her bed for comfort. They fell asleep together, with her phone recording every sound by her bedside. The next morning, as Jenny went through the recordings, she noticed a new file from 2:04 a.m. Thinking it was just another typical recording, she hit play. But as she listened, a chill ran down her spine. The recording started with a few faint clicking sounds. She thought it might be the fan she kept on for white noise, but the clicks didn't sound quite right. They grew louder and more intense, echoing in the quiet room. Then she heard her own voice, groggy, almost like she was talking in her sleep, mumble, "What are you doing?" But that wasn't the worst part. Immediately after she spoke, there was a response, a deep, unsettling voice that answered her, saying, "Nothing." Her mind raced. She didn't remember waking up or saying anything that night, and the voice in the recording didn't sound like her. It was too low, too calm. She tried to rationalize it, thinking maybe she had answered herself in her sleep, but the voice didn't match her tone or pitch, and it certainly wasn't her son's voice. As she listened, the clicks continued, growing louder, more intense, almost like they were right next to the phone. She was frozen with dread, unable to look away from the screen, and then, at the end of one of the recordings, she heard the same voice, low and quiet, whisper one last phrase. "That's them." Shaken, Jenny posted the recording on Reddit, hoping someone could explain what she'd heard. She uploaded both the raw audio and a cleaned up version that enhanced the clicks and the voice. Her story immediately caught attention, with commenters offering theories and begging to hear the audio for themselves. Some thought it could be her own voice distorted in her sleep, while others insisted the deep voice wasn't hers at all. One audio expert analyzed the file and confirmed her worst fear. They compared the pitch of her question, "What are you doing?" about 265 Hz with the answer, which was around 95 Hz, far too low for her to imitate. It was the voice of a man. That deep frequency didn't match Jenny's natural range, nor could it have come from her 3-year-old son. With no rational explanation, Jenny couldn't shake the feeling of something deeply wrong in her house. She tried to put the incident out of her mind, to move on, but the clicking sound didn't leave her alone. Several nights after the recording, the same clicks woke her from sleep. They seemed to be coming from across the room, near her fan, but when she got up to check, the sound faded as if it was slipping away. When she reached the fan, the room was silent. Desperate, she took advice from some commenters and tried an unconventional approach. She walked through her home, speaking into the darkness, pleading with whatever presence might be there. "Please leave," she said. "My son and I are scared. We don't want you here." She felt ridiculous, but after that night, the clicks stopped. She thought, maybe, it was finally over. Months passed, and nothing strange happened again. She avoided checking the recordings, afraid of what she might find. Eventually, she moved out of the house, leaving the nightmares behind. But she kept the recording, a chilling reminder of that night. If you're curious about what she heard that night, here is the original audio she shared. To this day, Jenny doesn't know what really happened that night, whether it was an intruder, a spirit, or something far darker. She'll likely never have answers. And maybe that's for the best.
What are you doing? Okay. That's
In 1980, experimental artist John Duncan performed one of the most controversial acts of his career. Known for pushing the boundaries of art, Duncan's work often explored themes of fear, discomfort, and existential struggle, delving into the darkest corners of the human psyche. His unsettling performance aimed to evoke intense emotional responses, challenging the viewer to confront their own limits and beliefs. Following a traumatic breakup, Duncan felt compelled to create a piece that expressed his profound sense of failure and isolation. He described feeling as though he had lost something essential to being human, a failure in love that led him to seek extreme forms of self-punishment and release. This emotional torment culminated in Blind Date, a performance that would forever alter his reputation. In this performance, Duncan sought out a mortician's assistant in a Mexican border town who arranged for him to engage in a deeply disturbing act with a cadaver. The purpose of Blind Date, as he explained, was to exert a psychological and physical toll on himself, to confront his darkest impulses, suffer, and let go of something irrevocable. Duncan followed this act with a vasectomy, a symbolic gesture meant to mark the end of his relationship with intimacy and life creation. The only record of Blind Date is a sound recording which Duncan released to document the raw experience. This act was met with shock and outrage from the art community and the public. Many distanced themselves from Duncan, and as soon as he moved to Japan, where he continued exploring provocative themes in his art, particularly through audio experimentation, which became a foundation of Japanese noise rock. This haunting performance, Blind Date, remains one of the most extreme pieces in modern art, prompting questions about the boundaries of artistic expression, ethics, and the purpose of art itself. What you're about to hear is a short clip from John Duncan's Blind Date, an audio recording of one of his most infamous performances. This recording captures a raw, unnerving moment that Duncan created to explore intense themes of self-punishment and human vulnerability. Only a brief excerpt will be played here, but if you choose to listen to the full recording, I've linked the full recording in the description. I wouldn't advise listening to the entire thing though. It's almost certain to leave you deeply disturbed.
On May 14, 1980, John Duncan performed Blind Date at DTLA in Los Angeles. Duncan's piece was part of a 2-month festival of performance art called Public Spirit, which played at different locations throughout the city and was one of the largest and most comprehensive festivals of performance ever held in the United States. Rumor was out surrounding the extreme nature of Duncan's newest work, and, in many ways, what the audience saw and heard that night in the DTLA space lived up to expectation.
Men are taught to respond to their own emotional pain with rage, a rage they often aim at themselves. Teaching men to react in this way is an obscene and sanctioned perversion. If you were a parent with a male child, you were partly to blame. I was very deeply in love. When I lost that love, I saw myself as a complete emotional failure, unable to return any kind of positive affection. I wanted to punish myself as thoroughly as I could. I decided to have a vasectomy, but that wasn't enough. I wanted my last potent seed to be spent in a dead body. I made arrangements to have sex with the cadaver. I was bodily thrown out of several sex shops before meeting a man who set me up with a mortician's assistant in a Mexican border town. The man took $10 in exchange for a phone number. 1 hour with the corpse would be $80 paid to the mortician's assistant. I was ordered not to take any pictures or film. I drove to the border town, rented a room, and called the phone number. About an hour later, the assistant came to my room. He drove to the mortuary at his insistence and showed me to a medium-sized workroom. He took the $80, shut the door, and left me alone. The corpse was a woman who I guessed to be in her mid-30s, with no disfigurements, all limbs and head attached, lying on a table covered with white paper. What you're about to hear is the sound of my having sex with it.
Some recordings slip into obscurity, their depravity buried, nearly forgotten, until now. You've heard them. Was it worth it? If you're still craving more, I'll see you in the next video.